school board president will call those individuals that request to speak at the appropriate time. Each individual is limited to 3 minutes to address the school board. And the relevant portions of policy 903.1 are use of electronic recording devices during board meetings. Recording devices such as cameras, cell phones, electronic tablets, tape recorders, and other similar recording devices are permitted at public board meetings under and pursuant to the following rules. Persons must notify the assistant superintendent of his or her intent to use the recording device prior to its use. An individual's right to record will be limited or forfeited if there is a material interference with the ability of board members, administrators, school officials, school employees, and others to participate or observe during the public board meeting. Audio recording devices can be used from an individual's seat or from a location designated by the board president. Video recording devices can be used from locations designated by the board president. Thank you. And one other item before we start, if you are called to come up to speak, if you are doing so, please continue to keep your mask on. We are under the order from the governor's office by the Department of Health to have masks on when we are inside public school buildings, and this is one of those orders. Thank you. Moving on to the agenda items, we'll start with the welcome reception for new staff members, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Madsen.
Thank you, Mr. Hines. Good evening, board members. Good evening, community. We're very excited this evening to welcome our new professional staff. What's a little bit unique about this evening is we're going to be welcoming not only staff members for the 21-22 school year, but also staff members for the 20-21 school year. So we're very excited that these staff members, these individuals have decided to join us here in the Parkland family, whether it's the first year ever for education this year, a second year, potentially a fifth year. We welcome everyone. And I'm actually a member of this group as being new to the district as well. So we're very excited to welcome everyone and thank them for being here. We have a great group of administrative staff that's going to help welcome everyone. At this point, I'm going to introduce Pam Kelly, our Director of Human Resources, and she's going to take over the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Madsen. Good evening, members of the school board and members of the audience. This is certainly a very special evening, and one I think we always look forward to each year as we have the opportunity to introduce the newest members of our teaching staff. Before we begin the actual introduction to staff, I'd like to make a few brief remarks, if I may, just to express sincere gratitude to the many individuals involved in the hiring process. I'd like to begin by taking this opportunity to first recognize and thank our school board members. I'd like to thank you for your amazing support and of not only our hires, but of our educational programs. And at the leadership level, I'd like to thank you for your leadership in how you establish the reputation here that Parkland enjoys and that attracts the top talent to Parkland School District. I'd also like to take an opportunity to thank our entire administrative team. It is truly a team effort in getting hired in Parkland School District. Our principals, our assistant principals, directors, coordinators, supervisors are all involved in the hiring process and spend countless hours in interview rooms, actually doing interviews and reviewing applications, and then the reference checking and so forth. So we want to recognize them for their incredible effort and dedication to hiring the very best that you're going to hear about tonight. I'd also like to recognize the HR administrative team, the assistant team there of clerical help, Stephanie Zara, Christina Geringer, and Linda Nagy do an incredible job handling all the details so that all the individuals can get hired. And lastly, I want to shout out to Nicole McGowan and her team for organizing this tonight. A little bit of a different format than we typically have, having the individuals in the room, but we're going to be able to hear 2 years worth, as Dr. Madsen mentioned, of individuals. I think there's around 84, 85 individuals. So that just shows you the sheer volume of folks that are hired in Parkland. Tonight, we're honored to introduce the staff. It's a wonderful group of individuals, and they made it through a competitive process. Each year, we receive well over 500 applications for teaching positions, and the administrators conducted over 400 interviews this year. The individuals represent over 30 various colleges and 25 different subject areas. we're very proud of and honored to welcome to the Parkland School District team. So without further ado, I'm going to turn the mic over to start the introductions of staff. We ask that you sit back, relax, and enjoy. And Mr. Andrew Weber will kick off this evening with the staff introductions. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure this evening to introduce to you Catherine Wagner. She is the district's very first ever board-certified behavior analyst. Catherine comes to us from Scottsdale, Arizona, where she was a behavior analyst in the largest and one of the most successful districts in the state. She moved to Pennsylvania earlier this year, and fun fact, she's an avid pickleball player. With that, I'll turn it over to Leslie Frisbee, Director of Business Administration.
Thank you. I have the pleasure of announcing two business office staff this evening that joined the team back in 2021. First is Jessica Aquila. She is our coordinator of benefits. Jess comes to us from the East Penn School District, where she served as the coordinator of HR. And Jess enjoys some maritime and kayaking. Our next addition to the team is Marsha Houston. She's our supervisor of payroll. Marsha comes to us from the Parkland Lehigh Intermediate 21, where she was the coordinator of payroll and benefits there. And Marsha is a Northwestern Lehigh Tiger alum. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Madsen. I had to bring notes. I have about 85 people on interviews here today. I'm going to start in the administrative ranks. Chairman. Those of you that have children in the district might recognize Pete. He's worked in the high school as an English teacher since 2001. He attended Mansfield University and also coached football for 24 years at the middle school and high school levels. He also was a behind-the-wheel trainer for 16 years. Pete's favorite movie, fun fact about Pete, is Jaws. He knows every line. So, if you don't believe me, just ask him. He's also originally from Bethlehem Township. And once again, assistant principal, Pete Sherman. Another assistant principal new to the high school started last October, I believe it was, Maggie Drake. Maggie was an assistant principal at Pura High School. She grew up on Long Island, and she has 2 children living in Northwestern. Now for the teaching ranks, we're really proud to have Alyssa Tauberback at the high school, now as an art teacher. Alyssa went to Maryland Institute College of Art, MICA, then in Baltimore, and she was previously teaching in Westminster, Maryland. Cora Murphy. Cora used to sub as a parent at the high school, went back to school, graduated from Bloomsburg University in 2021. She's a Parkland alumni, and she lives in the district, and she's currently teaching emotional support students. Chelsea Vermeulen was a long-term substitute at Northampton High School. She grew up in Slavington, so not too far away from us. Fun fact about Chelsea, she's the oldest of 6 siblings. Sydney Sneezak, after graduating from Millersville University, Sydney was teaching middle school theater in Stafford, Virginia. She is also a Parkland alumni and used to be one of the operations supervisors for the entertainment department at Joint Park in Waldorf Kingdom. Technology and engineering teacher, David Wagner. David previously taught for 3 years at Whitehall High School, and he received his BS in Technology and Engineering also at Millersville University, and a master's in instructional media from Wilkes University. He got married this summer, traveled to Greece, and actually came back. David Wagner. Gina Stavring. Gina was a long-term substitute in the Penridge School District. She's previously worked in the district as a sub, and she is excited to be a teacher in Parkland, and we're really excited to have her on our English staff. Eden Alden previously worked at Salisbury School District, and she's in her 20th year of teaching, and she's doing a fantastic job, and she's full of energy in her Spanish department. Another Parkland grad, Shelby Morgan, is teaching social studies with us. She attended Meridian College and previously worked as an AmeriCorps volunteer in Philadelphia. She's a 2012 alumna. Bethany Pepe comes to us with 17 years of teaching experience from the Wilson area, Illinois area, and Bellefonte area. She coaches for Parkland area soccer club's U11 girls team. Mathematics, Angela Terzin. She attended Albright College in Reading, PA, and she is a quadruplet. Just one of them. Michael Fasciano previously taught 8th grade social studies at Lower Macungie Middle School. He graduated from Parkland in 2008. He's in his 7th season coaching varsity football at Parkland. And I remember him coming up through the ranks as a staff member at the high school. Really proud of all he's accomplished. Anya Thomason, teaching math. She taught at Bethlehem Catholic for 4 years and 3 years overseas as well. She graduated from Lehigh University, and English is her 3rd language. She is Armenian, but was born and grew up in Iran, and she has twins. Natalie February. Natalie was a 7th grade teacher for English Language Arts at the Lindley Academy Charter School in North Philadelphia, and we're really excited to bring her on board. She's teaching English, but also specializing in our theater arts program. Bob Keller got a special education certification from Cedar Crest College, and we like Bob a lot. He is an alumni of Emmaus High School, but he does a fantastic job for us and serves our school in many different capacities. Caitlin Heinzelman joined the biology staff last year. She did a commendable job surviving the pandemic in her first year of teaching. She's teaching GHP and honor students this year. Nia Crabtree. Nia attended Cedar Crest College for her master's in education and has been long-term subbing for the past 3 years at Parkland High School. She went to high school in Germany and grew up all over the United States and overseas as her family was in the Air Force. Ron Beeler also started last year during the beginning of the pandemic as a technology and engineering teacher, new to Parkland via Millersville and also Whitehall. He's in his 2nd year at Parkland High School, and he's thrilled to teach in-person Project Lead the Way courses for us this year. Justin Lessel, besides rocking a serious bow tie, he's a 2017 Parkland alumni, 2021 Gettysburg College alumni, and he's also a member of our football coaching staff. Jackie Miller is previously employed at Boyertown High School, and she is very excited about the idea of her 2nd child coming this January. She teaches physics for us. Felicia Johnson is a 2012 Parkland grad. She graduated from Arabian College and previously taught at Saucon Valley High School, and she joined the Parkland High School staff last January. Josh Dieter. Josh attended Mr. Porter University, is also a Parkland alumni, and is also currently coaching as a member of our football staff. Destiny Back. Destiny attended Kutztown University and previously taught at Penridge High School. Great story about Destiny. Her mom is a 1973 Parkland grad. And Destiny always looked through her mom's yearbook while growing up. Now, Destiny, English teacher, and advisor to Park yearbook. Everything's come full circle. Mary Musselman previously taught at East Stroudsburg High School South, and prior to that, she spent 4.5 years at the Lehigh Valley Charter Arts High School. Mary is teaching Spanish for us this year at the high school. Melissa Miller previously taught as an English teacher at Saucon Valley High School. She moved to PA from New Jersey in 2018, and she's off to a great start. She's really appreciative of all the work and support she has. Tyler Rosario is a Parkland grad, did his student teaching at Parkland. He attended Penn State University and is teaching in our business department this year. Shadab Ashraf. Shadab grew up in India and came to the United States in 2004 after she was married. Previously, she was at Citrone as a Title I teacher. She attended Penn State, Lehigh Valley, and we're really glad to have Shadab aboard. This concludes my presentation. I just want to thank the board and the administration for all their support and providing the staff necessary for all our students to succeed and reach their goals. Thank you. Mr. Campbell?
Good evening, everyone. I will be much more brief than Jandal. I have David McFadden, graduate from Kutztown University. Previously had served as a long-term substitute for Whitehall Copley Middle School and will be teaching 6th grade as part of Team Galileo at Orfield Middle School. Dave and his wife had their first child, Quinn, this past summer. Danielle Eastgate grew up in nearby Parkland, Pennsylvania, where I started my educational career. For the past 3 years, has taught biology and AP biology at Laurel High School in Laurel, Delaware, about 30 minutes away from where many of us frequent the beaches over the summertime. She will be teaching 7th grade science as part of Team Trailblazers at Orfield Middle School. Now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Son for Springhouse Middle School introduction.
Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce 5 new staff members to the Springhouse Middle School family. Craig Waters graduated from Bloomsburg University, where he also played rugby. Craig's been in the Parkland School District for 23 years, serving as a 7th grade math teacher at Orfield Middle School for 20 years, and an assistant football coach for Parkland High School. Most recently, Craig was an assistant principal at Parkland High School for 2 years, and he is now serving our district as assistant principal at Springhouse Middle School. Welcome, Craig. Amanda Abdullah is a Parkland High School graduate, class of 2001. She continued her education at Bloomsburg University and graduated in 2005. Amanda began her teaching career at Orfield Middle School as an STV 8th grade ELA teacher, then taught at LCTI for 4 years in their academic center. Amanda returned to Parkland, serving as an English teacher and yearbook advisor at Parkland High School for 10 years. Amanda is now an assistant principal at Springhouse Middle School, and she continues to embody the saying, once a Trojan, always a Trojan. Keith Eckenrode received his bachelor's degree from East Stroudsburg University and his master's degree from Kutztown University. In his free time, Keith enjoys playing and coaching volleyball. He has also officiated volleyball at many levels for the past 23 years. Keith is teaching guidance classes at both Springhouse and Orfield Middle School as a part of our guidance teams. Welcome, Keith. Alexis Peplow grew up right down the road in Northampton, Pennsylvania. Alexis is a recent graduate from Moravian College, where she played soccer for all 4 years. She is teaching 7th grade mathematics on the Dragons team as a long-term substitute at Springhouse. Fun fact, Alexis is also a triplet. I'm pleased to introduce Kaylee Santinello, who is our middle school strings teacher at both Springhouse and Orfield Middle School. Kaylee is originally from Vernon, New Jersey, and graduated from Westchester University, where she was the drum major for the Golden Rams Marching Band. Kaylee has coordinated and taught at the El Sistema Lehigh Valley Youth Orchestra program with the Allentown Symphony for the past 6 years. In her musical travels, she has also played the cello on 3 continents. That concludes my portion of the program. I'll turn it over to Dr. Jay Quinta, Principal of Treasury.
Thank you, Dr. Stantz. I'm pleased and proud to welcome and introduce 4 new Saturnity staff members. First, Danica Strain, our media specialist. Danica previously taught in St. Mary's County School District in Southern Maryland and graduated from Penn State University. She is a 2005 Parkland alumni. Erica Coverly. Erica is teaching 2nd grade. She previously taught at Fogelsville last year, and prior to that was at the Swain School for 10 years. She went to Muhlenberg College, is from Long Island, and has been a teacher for 27 years. Alyssa Pagliera, our school nurse. Alyssa graduated from Moravian College and has worked at Lehigh Valley Hospital for 9 years. She grew up in Parkland but went to Central Catholic. Her husband, Jamie, is a Parkland alumni, and he had a fantastic teacher at Schnecksville Elementary School. He wanted you to know. Sheila McFadden. Sheila was a nurse for 11 years. She's our school nurse until Alyssa begins on November 1st. She was a nurse for 11 years at Penn Medicine in Philadelphia, and throughout that time, subbed as a school nurse for multiple school districts. She earned her BSN from LaSalle University and CSN and MSN from Westchester University. Mr. Crones, principal from Fogelsville.
Good evening. We have 5 new Fogelsville Foxes joining the den. First is Rebecca Peck. She is a learning support teacher. Previously was at Bethlehem Area School District. She is a Parkland graduate and lives right here in the Lehigh Valley. Next is Kelly Weiner, a 3rd grade teacher. Kelly graduated from DeSales University in 2010. After graduating, she taught 1st grade for 4 years in the Cumberland Valley School District and taught kindergarten for 5 years in the Salisbury Township School District. Next, we have Amanda Hine, who is a second grade teacher. Amanda graduated from Kutztown University and is a 2017 Parkland graduate. Next, we have Kristen Lennis, third grade teacher. Kristen previously worked at Quakertown School District and the Swain School. She attended Eastern University and Kutztown University for her master's degree. She lives in the district and has 4 children attending Parkland schools. And lastly, we have Cassandra Vogel. She is a school psychologist at Fogelsville and also at Veterans Memorial Elementary School. Cassandra previously worked at Williamsburg James City County Public Schools and graduated from the University of Delaware. She grew up in Wellsboro, which, if anyone knows, is the home of the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon. And she also has 3 boys. Next, I'd like to introduce the principal at Ironton, Mr. Holmes.
Good evening. It is my pleasure to introduce 6 new staff members at Ironton Elementary School, starting with Victoria Saunders. Victoria attended Moravian College and graduated in 2018. She was an STV in 2nd grade at Jandal Elementary in the 2020-21 school year. She loves to play basketball and is excited to be here at Parkland. Next is Laura Schaefer. Laura will be teaching 1st grade at Ironton. Laura previously taught 4th grade at Kernersville Elementary. She attended Kutztown University and played field hockey there. Up next is Allison Lane. Allison teaches, she's a learning support teacher at Ironton. Allison is a former teacher in West Orange, New Jersey. She grew up in Park Ridge, New Jersey, not far from New York City. Next is Brittany Greco, another learning support teacher at Ironton. Brittany previously taught learning support in the Bethlehem Area School District. She's an Allentown native and attended Parkland School District. Naomi Johnson, another learning support teacher at Ironton. Naomi attended Penn State University and previously was a sub at Veterans Memorial. She grew up in Boston and was homeschooled for 8 years. And last but not least, Kylie Rodriguez. Kylie is a 5th grade teacher at Ironton. Kylie previously taught 5th grade at Parkway Manor and is from Pittsburgh. Kylie is an avid runner and enjoys spending time with her family. Thank you, and now for Mr. Bartlett from Jandal.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. I have the privilege of introducing 5 new staff members at Jandal this evening. First of all, Caitlin Lisicki. Caitlin attended Bloomsburg University and taught for 4 years in North Carolina, 2 years in the Allentown School District, and 2 years in Bethlehem. She grew up in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Welcome, Caitlin. Charles Hess II. Chad attended Old Dominion University and was an STV at Springhouse for 2019-2020. He is a Parkland alumni and played golf for Old Dominion. Welcome, Chad. Margaret Kennedy. Meg was previously at the North Penn School District as a kindergarten teacher. She attended Bloomsburg University, and she also spent some time teaching elementary school in Hawaii a few years back. Welcome, Meg. Next, we have Aubrey. Aubrey attended IUP for her undergrad as well as her master's degree and brings 2 years of experience from Penn Argyll School District. She also spends a lot of time outside, camping and hiking. And last but not least, Erin Crawford. Erin graduated from Kutztown University and is currently working on her master's for ABA at Cairn University. She loves to volunteer for her community and spends a great deal of time volunteering for the Miracle League of the Lehigh Valley. Congratulations and welcome to all of our newly hired grand champions over at Jandal. Thank you, and at this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Geringer at Kernersville.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. I'd like to introduce 5 new Coyotes from Kernersville. First, we have Kristen Krause.
Kristen is teaching 4th grade at Kernsville. This is her second year teaching overall. Last year she was at Parkland, Manor teaching 4th grade. She attended Penn State University and graduated in May of 2020. She's a Parkland and Kernsville alumni and loves telling me every day that when she was at Kernsville, I was her principal. Next, we have Hope Rosses. Hope is teaching 1st grade at Kernsville. This is her second stint in the Parkland School District, previously teaching at Kernsville in 1st and kindergarten. She took some time off to raise her children and to teach at St. Tommy Moore, and now is back with us teaching 1st grade, and we're glad to have her back. Jordan Hodge. Jordan is teaching learning support at Kernsville. She graduated from East Stroudsburg University in 2020 and was at PHS and Schnecksville in 20 and 21. She's a Parkland alumni graduating in 2016. She wants to thank her teachers throughout her time in the Parkland School District for inspiring her to become a teacher. Next, Jamie Sam. Jamie is teaching kindergarten at Kernsville. Last year she taught 1st grade at Kernsville. Prior to that, she was at the Jewish Day School for 10 years. She grew up in Allentown. One of her children is a Parkland grad, and the other one is currently at Springhouse. Lastly, we have Jen Mormon. Jennifer is teaching 3rd grade at Kernsville as an STD. Jennifer attended Wilkes University. She is from New Jersey and loves cats. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Karen Alicio from Parkland.
Good evening. I have one new staff member to introduce you to, and her name is Christina Diltz. Christina grew up in Nevada and attended Kutztown University. Prior to coming to Kratzer, Ms. Diltz worked at Jandal as a Title I assistant for 3 years. Christina worked at Kratzer all last school year in 5th grade and is currently filling in for a 1st grade position through November. Welcome, Christina. Next up, we have Mr. Bartman from Parkway Manor.
Thank you, Mrs. Alicio. Good evening, everyone, and it's a pleasure to introduce the Parkway Manor faculty. I had 5. Let me start with Jennifer Andrews. Jennifer previously worked as a learning support teacher at Kutztown Elementary School. Prior to that, she worked with the Fairfax County Public Schools in Virginia as a learning support teacher. She is a Parkland alum. Congratulations, Jen. Susan Platt. Susan graduated from Syracuse University. She taught 11 years prior to coming to Parkway Manor. In 2017, she started to work as a Title I aide at Parkway Manor. She has spent many years in New York City, and her fun fact was that she has run 3 New York City marathons. Susan is teaching 1st grade. Judy Ann Casiola. Judy Ann previously was a learning support para at the high school. She grew up in Florida, where she was a criminal justice major as well as a phys ed teacher. She joins Parkway Manor and our phys ed staff, and her fun fact is that she is an avid metal detectorist. Stephanie Evans. Stephanie previously worked at St. Thomas More. She graduated from Bloomsburg University in 2020 and is from Scranton, PA. And lastly, Sarah Heidecker. Sarah graduated in December 2020 from East Stroudsburg University. She is a 1st-year teacher at Parkway Manor, and she brings her passion for multi-sensory learning to life during her days at Parkway Manor. Welcome, Sarah. It is my pleasure to introduce Mr. Goodman from Schnecksville Elementary.
Thank you, Mr. Marmon. Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce 7 new staff members at Schnecksville Elementary School. First, we have Marissa Gribble, who will be teaching 3rd grade for us. Marissa worked at Kratzer last year as a full-year 4th grade STB. She moved to the Lehigh Valley 3 years ago and is from the Wilkes-Barre-Scranton area and went to school there as well. Next, we have Erin O'Neill, who will also be teaching 3rd grade for us. Erin attended Temple University. Last year, she taught 5th grade at Schnecksville. She grew up in Bucks County, but recently moved to the Valley with her husband and her 2 dogs. Next, we have Anna Rosak. She is our music teacher. Anna was a long-term substitute at Jandal Elementary School in 2019. Before that, she attended Cairn University. She loves to play volleyball, read, and hike. Next is Michelle Kern. Michelle previously taught At Citronia as a Title I aide. She has 3 kids in the district, all at different levels here in Parkland. Next, we have Jen Roth, another former Citronia Elementary School teacher. She began her career in 1995 and left to raise her children. In 2017, she returned to public education as an ESL teacher in the Salisbury School District. And in 2020, she returned to Parkland as the ESL teacher at Schnecksville Elementary School. She is also a 1991 grad of Parkland. Next, teaching 5th grade is Casey Brocious. Casey taught 2nd grade for 10 years and was the intervention specialist for 5 years in the Allentown School District. She graduated from Kutztown with a bachelor's degree in education. She has a master's in reading from East Stroudsburg and an Ed Leadership Cert from Lehigh University. She grew up in Whitehall and currently lives in Lower Macungie and has 3 children. And finally, we have Kaylee Swavely. She is our reading specialist. She used to work at the Lower Dauphin School District before coming up to Schnecksville, and she just recently became a mother to a baby girl named Cameron a month ago. Now I'd like to introduce Karen Delpera from Veterans Memorial.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to introduce you 10 new Veterans Memorial staff members. We have Adrienne Borger, who graduated from Kutztown University and taught pre-K and kindergarten at the Divine School. She's previously worked at Noblesville and Citronia. She loves Parkland, and her favorite hobby is weightlifting. Lindsay Noble is a 1st grade teacher at Veterans Memorial. She attended Lafayette College and earned her teaching cert from Kutztown and her master's from Cedar Crest. She taught for 10 years in 1st grade at St. Joseph's the Worker School. She is married to a Parkland alumni and has 2 children in the district. Her fun fact is she played D1 lacrosse in college, and she's a huge University of Michigan fan. Michelle Snyder is a 1st grade teacher at Veterans Memorial. Michelle was previously a Title I aide at Schnecksville Elementary. She graduated from Parkland High School and attended Bloomsburg University. And prior to having children, she worked at Ironton Elementary as a kindergarten teacher for 8 years. She then took time off to raise her family, and she's very excited to be back teaching 1st grade in the district. Nicole Barker is a 3rd grade teacher at Veterans Memorial. She originally taught in the Allentown School District and then took some time off to raise her children. She returned to work at Schnecksville Elementary, and she attended Missouri Fordham College and grew up in Williamsport, right across the river from where the Little League World Series is played. Brianna Barnett is a 3rd grade teacher. She previously taught 3rd grade in the Cheltenham School District in Montgomery County. She is a Whitehall graduate, but now she roots for Parkland. Lauren Patton is a learning support teacher. She is a recent graduate from Kutztown University in 2020. She was hired as a 1-year contract last year, and now this year is back to fill a full-year maternity leave. She is a graduate of Freedom High School. Megan Stauffer is a 2nd grade teacher at Veterans Memorial. Megan taught in Allentown at Ritter Elementary for 15 years prior to coming to Parkland. She's moved into Parkland, and now she moved her family into Parkland, so her children attend Parkland as well. Eddie Olson is our phys ed teacher. Eddie previously taught in the Allentown School District. He is a 2004 Parkland grad, and he's in the Parkland Hall of Fame. He's also been a basketball coach for Parkland for the last 12 years. Kaylee Giadomenico previously worked in the Allentown School District. She's also a learning support teacher for Veterans Memorial, and she attended Parkland kindergarten through 12th grade herself. And finally, I have Lisa Stahl, the instrumental music teacher. Lisa graduated from Westchester University and previously was teaching instrumental and vocal music at Lehigh Christian Academy. This is her 2nd stint in Parkland. She taught from 86 to 91 at Kernsville and Parkway Manor. She grew up in Bethlehem and graduated from Freedom High School. Thank you for welcoming all of our new Veterans Memorial staff.
Is that everything that's been out about? Okay. Again, thank you very much to all of our administrators and principals for being here this evening and welcoming our new staff. Thank you to the new staff, and congratulations for being part of this family. And I know that for the administrators, there's a lot that happens over the course of a school year, but one thing that may be one of the most important things to do is hiring good people. And how much much those people really matter to an organization. And once again, congratulations for that. Really making your dreams come proud and welcoming this group to the district. And thank you to the board for continuing support. Thank you, Mr. Hunt.
Thank you. It's always one of the favorite nights that we have is welcoming the new teachers. So please do extend our gracious welcome to them and congratulations, and looking forward to many great years from them. Another wonderful time for us at the school board meetings is always our student representative report. And I have the honor tonight to introduce Ms. Laura Valeria to the board. Welcome, and take it away.
Good evening, everybody. I'm very happy to be here. So I'm going to be your student representative for 2021-2022. So we're going to be starting off with the elementary schools. So first off is Schnecksville. So they have a lot going on. They just did their SWPBS, which means school-wide positive behavior support, and it is kind of a way to show how to support it in the school. Then we have back to learning and arts and crafts, so it is a lot of fun seeing all the students back in school, and it looks like they're having a lot of fun, and it's really awesome to be able to see all these kids being able to see each other again and back together. Next up, we've got Jandal. So they actually did something really interesting that I've never seen in an elementary school that I thought it was really nice of them to do, which was mindfulness stretching. With mindfulness stretching, they were able to kind of clear their heads and have some stress-free fun in the school and kind of be able to get away from any of the disturbance that is coming from the school. Next up, we have the computer class. Oh, sorry. Next up, we have the computer class in Jandal, which is the teachers learning, teaching them how to work with the new computers for the new kids. And the other one is practicing math, which is looks like they're having a lot of fun being able to learn. And I remember when I did that in elementary school, and it was a lot of fun for me as well. And now we have Parkland Manor. They actually did something really fun, which was they were able to find a cat, and it was a scavenger hunt for the kids, which was really fun for them. And then they also had music class time where they were able to play with the instruments and play with the sticks, and it was a really fun environment for them, which is really awesome that they got to do that. And look at their smiling faces, it's really fun to see that again. Next up, we have Arlington, and they actually had, which is really interesting, I never heard about International Dog Day, but you will be seeing that in the next couple slides. International Dog Day is a way to let kids express their creativity and kind of have fun with them in art class, and it was really awesome to see that in these elementary schools. So they were able to kind of make some artwork with dots and have their own creativity space in that art class. And then you can see that there are, the kids are learning on the other side, and then they have a bunch of different activities for back to school, which is really awesome. And also the library is back open, so they're able to pick up the books and check them out, so that's awesome for them too. Next up, we have Veterans Memorial, and they also did an International Dog Day event where the kids were able to kind of do artwork in the art classes again. We also have a really awesome thing that Miss Barnett did, which is the Good Work sticky notes, which is really awesome. So she did a message behind the sticky notes, and what she did was she put a bunch of sticky notes on the top, and they were all like, I kept my mask on today, or I was able to communicate in the class. And then when they did that, they got to take the sticky note, and the message was revealed behind it. That was really awesome for her to do. And then we have the Creative Commons where they're allowed to go sit there and kind of work on homework or have some fun in that. And then we can see the lunch. So what they did is that they have to pick out whatever they're going to get, and then they go through the line and they pick it out, which is really awesome as well. Next up, we have Crafter. And we have some team building and problem solving ideas, and it looks like they're having a lot of fun with that. And we also have the KRTV, which is back on again, and it looks like two girls are talking. And I remember when I was able to do that back in my elementary school, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of nerve-wracking experience because you are talking in front of the entire school, but it's really awesome. So yeah, it looks like they're having a lot of fun in that. Next up, we have Vogelsville. And they also did a dot day. However, this one was different because they got to work with the art teacher to make a mural for the school. And they got to incorporate a really awesome message, which was March and March, make it matter. And they were able to decorate that and put it on the school, which is really awesome. And then you see that Mr. Webster's class is back outside, and it was really awesome to see that they're also doing that again. And then we have the first grade boxes, which is really cool. Next up, we have Schnecksville, and they did a Monarch release, which they were able to see how the Monarchs were able to kind of hatch out of their cocoons and then come out. And then we have the first day of school activities as well. Next up, we have Centronia, and this is Mrs. Hardy's expressionistic paintings, and they were able to kind of be creative again, kind of like the whole international dog idea into painting. And then they did a What Lifts You Up mural, so kids were able to kind of put a little message on it and make it into a little balloon bouquet, which is really cool. And then we have Hedgehog Headlines, which is kind of like the KRTV, and they have that back on. And it's kind of preparing the kids for the PHS TV studio, which is also a really awesome experience. Next up, we have SMS, and these are the middle schools. So they were able to have tuna ice and a food truck brought to them, which is really awesome. And it was outside to be kind of be able to eat them and not have to worry about the whole situation. And then it was really, I remember when I was back in middle school, it was really stressful to find classes, so they had help for the new students to be able to find their classes. Next up, we have OMS, which is I'm an alumni from OMS. And they were able to find how to open up their lockers, because that was a really difficult part of OMS. And then we have the teachers, which are really excited to be back into the classrooms, which is really awesome. Seeing these teachers back again is really, because 3 out of the 4 teachers in there were my old teachers, which is really awesome to see them again and working. And last but not least, we have PHS. So we actually have a lot going on. And in the past couple of weeks, we were able to do an activities fair. And the activities fair is kind of a way for students to learn about all the clubs and activities we have at the high school. So we have many clubs like the STEP team or Mental Health Awareness Club. And then we also have Spanish Honor Society or French clubs. And they were able to find everything out and kind of sign up for those things, which is really awesome. And then we have another class, since 9/11 was recently as well. We were able to do a 9/11 tribute in one of the poetry classes, which was really awesome for them to do. And then the football games are back, which is really awesome, and all the kids are really enjoying those. And right now, Parkland is winning 3 out of the 4 games, which is amazing. And then next up, we have the school district announcements. So right now, we have Parkland High School homecoming coming up on October 16th. So that should be really fun for all the kids and all the students. And then we are doing kind of a school-based therapy for the students, which is kind of help them de-stress from any other COVID or any stress that they have from school. I know that a lot of us have stress from college admissions and everything, so that would be really nice. And then on October 1st, we have the first football game, which will be a pickout, and that it'll be for support for the breast cancer research. And I think that we're going to be donating some of the funds from that football game towards breast cancer staff from the school district. So that's really nice. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome again. Nice job. Moving on in the agenda, Mrs. Frizzy, any reports of the executive session? Thank you. Moving on to number 6, public comment on agenda items. Tonight there are no comments on agenda items. Moving on to some of the business items, and just as a reminder, or in case you're the first time here, these items that we are going through and reviewing and approving tonight, we have seen in our committee meetings and have vetted throughout the last couple of weeks, and had our opportunity to ask questions and get them answered, as well as being able to ask any more questions depending on what's happening. So number 7, Personnel Finance Committee, Mrs. Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Hine. resignations, items A through C. Change of status, items A through C. Employment of personnel, items A through, keep scrolling, X. And the approval of our day-to-day substitute list for professionals, guest teachers, support staff, food services, school services, and transportation. And I make that motion.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Moll. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries.
Item 7.02, advancement on the salary schedule. The attached list of individuals have completed additional studies. It is recommended that these individuals be placed on the appropriate column of the salary schedule as contracted for the beginning of the 2021-22 school year. And we have the attachment there. And I make that motion.
Thank you. If I could have a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ziegler. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries.
And item 7.03, second reading and approval of board policy. This is the second reading and approval for following board policy 805.2, which regards operations, school security personnel. And we will give that to look over. Everyone should have, gone through it. If you had any questions, they've been asked and answered. And I make that motion to pass that policy change.
Thank you. And a second, please. Second. Thank you, Mr. Booth. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries.
And that concludes personal and finance, Mr. Hine.
Thank you. And I forgot to state at the beginning, we do have two board members on the phone tonight with us, Mr. Booth and Mr. Cohen, with two board members absent. Moving on to reports, Mr. Roth will continue with you, Carbon High Intermediate Unit.
Still has a mic. All right, thank you. The Parkland Manor Intermediate Union met last Monday, September 20th, and the first item that we had involved a rather long list on our board agenda items. There was at least like 12 pages of summer staff, summer employment. And of course, some of us relative newbies on the IU board were like, oh my gosh, that many staff members. So we had a clarification from Dr. Hyde that the summer employment list actually refers to substitutes and backup employees that we utilize in the entire year. There's a lot of IU programs that run during the summer, so a stipend is offered to attract more applicants for that. So what they do is they have a list of those teachers and then they keep them for the whole year. So that's why we kind of are actually approving it 2 times a year. We had an organizational goals overview by Dr. Hyde. Then Dr. Mark Scott announced and introduced the 2 recipients of this year's Annie Sullivan Awards for teaching initiatives above and beyond. There were 26 nominees for 2021, and the winners were Susan Gary Luciano and Tim Whalen. And both of them were present together and tell us a little bit about what they were doing in their classrooms. Then we had an ESY, Extended School Year Services presentation by Dr. Mark Scott. These ESY programs are available to help ensure that there's as little regression as possible over the summer months. There was a question for Dr. I by one of our board members. What are the implications of Dr. Scott's comment that he made that the IU normally has a 90 bus runs a day, but right now only driving staff for 60 runs? And Dr. I reiterated that this is a very critical issue right now, as we all know, across the country really with bus drivers. And they have already reported this bus run deficiency to PDE, Pennsylvania Department of Education. And one fix that's being discussed by PDE is to bring in the National Guard, which I wasn't aware that is an option that there is. It's considered an emergency situation that we need to be able to get these students, particularly the IU students, not any students really, to school. So the National Guard is an option that they can use. So that's interesting. And we do board sharing. It's a round table up there. It's board sharing. And at the end of our meeting, we were mostly talking about the health and safety school mandates in place right now, and what all our school districts that are participating in IU have seen at their meetings and discussions and everything. So that was very interesting. And I'd like to end this one on a high note for the IU. We did also have a video that was presented showing this summer's bike and stroller distribution. So what they do is they get, there's a lot of donations and whatnot to buy these bicycles and strollers that are adaptable for the students up there. And when they give them out, it's just, you've got to be there. So I told them, I said, I'm marking it on my calendar for next year to be there in person for this. So I just asked Tom if he could run the little video that we have. It's just a little over 2 minutes. There were 20 of these given out this year, and these adaptive bikes, they run in the neighborhood of about $1,800 to $2,000. So, you know, that's a lot, and some of these families just, you know, cannot afford that, so this is wonderful, and it gives an opportunity to a student that maybe has never had a chance to ride a bicycle, ever. You know, they'll look around and they'll see all their friends and everything, you just hop on a bike and you take it for granted, and these are students that can't do that, so, you know, giving them that opportunity. And I'm going to start crying again, so I'm going to wrap up the IE report this time.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Ziegler, LCTI.
Thank you, Mr. Hyde. So on Wednesday, September 22nd, LCTI Joint Operating Committee met. We were partially in person and partially virtual. We heard from a student whose name is Jeremy Bautista from the Marketing and Business Education. He's a senior at Whitehall High School, and he spoke about how LCTI has helped him discover who he is and what he wants to do in the future. He discovered his passion for business and marketing and has won several awards and medals during his time at LCTI. He plans to go to Moravian for marketing. Some exciting news that we heard during our admin report is that there will be a new LCTI program called Animal Sciences. They're going to model it after their Emerging Health Professionals program, and it will start during the 22-23 school year and will initially be for only 12th graders. There's already a wait list on this program. It will be a dual enrollment program with LCTI and L-Tri-C. They will also be partnering with the Lehigh Valley Zoo. They also discussed their 50th anniversary celebration, which is scheduled for Tuesday, October 19th. They talked about their one-to-one initiative, which was on the agenda that evening. And they provided board members with a breakdown of enrollment by district and by program. For adult workforce education, we approved 2 agreements, one with FedEx Ground for PLC training and one with Sam Adams Brewery for electrical systems, introduction to electrical systems. There were a few personnel and 2 miscellaneous items. One was an agreement with the Montgomery County Economic and Workforce Development Board to provide training services, and also one with the Sage Corporation for CDL training programs. We also had several curriculum payments. When it came to committee reports, there was no report from the personnel and salary. From business and finance, we had no motions, but they provided some attachments related to the JOCC calculation. Facilities, they gave us an update on their generator project, roofing project, and the welding lab. They also discussed the security camera system, which will be on the agenda for next meeting. There were no policies up for second reading, 5 policies for first reading, none for review. And the Public Relations Committee discussed 3 items: the time capsule opening, virtual open house, which will be November 9th through 11th from 5 to 8 p.m., and senior recognition night, which is Tuesday, May 31st at the PP&L Center. We had 2 additions to the Occupational Advisory Council, and we approved a few conferences for LCTI's guidance counselors. There were also 4 miscellaneous items at the end there of my report, and that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Over back to you, Mrs. Ross, for the community library.
Thank you. The Parkland Community Library Board met last Thursday, September 23rd. We kicked off, as we usually do, with Executive Director Debbie Schack's report. She's been, for the last year, her reports have been pretty much the new building expansion project and all the bugs and problems with that, what's that having worked out. So most of the bugs are done now. They've been addressed, they fixed them, we're good to go. The Friends of the Parkland Community Library, that's a separate organization, notified Debbie that they would like to take care of the recently announced landscaping being done around the new building and also cover the maintenance costs for 1 year. So that was nice to hear that that will be covered. That was an expense that we had the money for, but it's nice because we can throw that into programming now. In addition to the grant money that I mentioned at the August meeting that was approved by the Chamber of Commerce for a community garden at the library, Debbie Jack announced that she'd been contacted by Gail Micah, who's president of the Western Lehigh Rotary, and they would also like to donate towards this community garden. So a couple things that everybody's going to get together, the Rotary and the PCL, to determine is the location for this community garden, which will have the most sunlight, and also fencing. It's going to need some fencing because a lot of deer has come in there, so they want to make sure it's protected. So they looked at several areas, but there's actually a little already enclosed area on the lower end of the property where recycling is being done right now. And it looks like that might be the best option. So the Parkland Community Library is working with South Whitehall Township interim manager, Randy Cope, to make sure that that will work for them as well because of the fact that we share the property there. So Randy has asked Debbie to present at the next South Whitehall Township Commissioners meeting in October. So she's going to go in and pitch the idea for where we would like to put this community garden. And the subject of the library's calendar came up again. Some people wanted it noted that we need to revise the online calendar to denote Columbus Day in October. It's not just considered Columbus Day now, it's also being identified as Indigenous Peoples Day. So we are going to note that on the online calendar, saying both of those. And then it was unsure whether or not the library should be open on Election Day. That's kind of still being discussed. We need to keep an eye on that one because that's actually in talks right now for possibly becoming a national holiday, Election Day. So something that we'll decide as it gets a little bit closer to November. And Debbie reported that the Touch a Truck event that was on September 18th had a fantastic response. There was over 900 people that attended. So that was wonderful to see that. Everybody get out. It was lucky it was outside, so that probably contributed to the increased attendance. Treasurer's report, there's been over $118,000 in total donations in 2021 so far. So that's wonderful. We can't thank everybody in the community enough for that. And thanks to the library for donations. And for new business, there was some discussion around possibly establishing some facility rental policies because we have all those nice new meeting rooms and everything up there. So we want to try to encourage more community groups and whatnot to have their meetings maybe up there or even just some events, one-time events. We went over our community library bylaws. We did a review of the bylaws. Apparently it had been quite some time since they've been looked at. So we did a very extensive review on those last Thursday. It actually was like a 2.5-hour meeting. It was a pretty long one. Then we also looked at creating a Clean Air Act. Debbie Jack confirmed that the library has been smoke-free for quite some time now, but there was never a formal policy drafted on it. So the Bradley Sullivan organization has requested this as a condition of their partnering with us on some special programs. There was quite a discussion on what areas, like you've got the building, sidewalks, parking lots, et cetera, that you need to consider. So, we've already started talking a little bit about how we want to formulate that policy. And I'd like to conclude with just a little bit of advertising for the Friends of Parkland Community Library. They're having a soft opening. They're getting back to doing their book sales again. So October 25th and 29th are set up now. They were suspended due to COVID for the past 18 plus months. So they're very excited to get back to, that's one of their big fundraisers. And, since they support the library, we support them. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Roth. Moving on to Parkland Education Foundation, Ms. Fasciano.
Thank you, Mr. Hine. I have 3 items to report for the foundation. The first, the foundation sponsored a presentation by Dr. Michael Bradley to speak to the parents virtually for the pandemic, within the pandemic, and the name of the program is Supporting Overwhelmed Teens with Love, Laughter, and the Science of Resilience. The broadcast was recorded and is available to you on Parkland TV, the YouTube channel, and you can link that from the foundation page also on the website. The foundation golf tournament is going to be held this Friday at October 1st at Brookside Country Club. So clear weather holds out for us. I'm excited to say that all the portions were sold out, and we had so many generous sponsors. We're really grateful to have the community, the businesses in our community, and and alumni. We had a lot of sponsors this year, which is wonderful. This is only the second golf tournament. And I saved the best for last. The foundation is so grateful to our own Parkland employees who contributed and donated over $30,000 through an employee giving campaign this year. That's a 7.2 increase over last year. That's phenomenal. And the money means so much to the foundation. It shows that the programs are working, and the people who benefit from them see a difference that the foundation makes through the grants that we provide at the end of the year. And that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. For legislative update, there are 3 House bills that are being proposed, have been pushed out of the House Education Committee at the state level. One is 1685, charter expansion. All these we should follow very closely and contact our representatives to propose. 1685 is a charter reform plan that contains various concerns for traditional public schools. It allows significant unchecked charter school expansion with no public oversight and no consideration given to the quality of charter school educational program. It also does not address any of the funding formula issues and provides no real reform and only increases the flaws and overpayments to charter schools. House Bill 1642, EITC expansion, or income tax credit expansion. Programs require the Commonwealth to issue unknown additional amounts of tax credits for scholarships at economically disadvantaged schools depending upon demand and use of the scholarships rather than specify the exact amounts of tax credits available. It also makes it much easier for a school to be categorized as economically disadvantaged, which will further drive demand for increased funding under the program. And House Bill 1254 about statewide mandatory vouchers. Last week, the House Education Committee pushed out a broad-based mandatory voucher plan. Under the bill, any school district that does not provide full-time in-person instruction or denies a student full-time in-person instruction would be required to establish a voucher for students to use at any public or non-public school. It is vaguely worded, and the provisions under this bill leave many loopholes and questions and concerns. And it also serves to establish a way to chip away at traditional public education system in Pennsylvania. So please look into those and contact your legislators to oppose those. And there are no other reports, so we'll move on to approval of accounts payable for 2021-2022. If I can have a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf, and a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Roth. Any comments or questions?
I have a comment.
Mr. Cruz?
I'd like to state that my support does not, that my yes vote does not support cyber charges due to their inequitable distribution of funds to public institutions, and the fact that cyber charter in general doesn't have as much, it's not as transparent with public funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cullen?
Thank you. My statement agrees with Mr. Bruce's. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Moving on to item number 10, public comment on non-agenda items. We have 2 tonight. There will be a 3-minute timer. It'll be on the screens on the side. I will be monitoring that closely, and please, when you come up, state your name and your address for the record. The first is Jared Coleman.
Good evening. My name is Jared Coleman. My address is 1410 Buckhill Lane, Brownsville. Again, good evening. Tonight, I'd like to speak to you about something that I'm getting asked constantly from different groups of parents. When I give talks to different groups of parents at parks involving Parkland, and they want to know how in the world did we have, what did we do to get CRT in Parkland? What did we do wrong here that we have elements of CRT in Parkland? I wish it weren't true, but it's not a fantasy, and this is true. CRT is in Parkland, and speaking any misinformation to the contrary is irresponsible and plainly misinformation, and it's not true. Let me just give one more example today. A tenant of CRT contained within this very institution. As I said, I'll string along. We'll keep giving more examples until you say it's not CRT, but it is CRT, but you're going to say it's not. Well, let's just see how long this goes. According to a source familiar with CRT, a core tenet of CRT posits that racism is so deeply entrenched that it is not abnormal. Rather, it has become the norm. It emphasizes that racism does not happen in explicit forms. Rather, it's more nuanced and subtle and built into our structures. It emphasizes that often racism is not explicit or easy to spot and point out. Racism is not just slurs and biases hurled in the street. Rather, racism is built into our structures and institutions, which is why we see system-level disparities between the white people and minorities. This is per a source. Unconscious bias training aims to tackle discrimination and prejudice by making people more aware of the impact their biases have on individual decisions and actions. She goes on to say, quote, unconscious bias training is grounded in CRT, as racism is so embedded into society, it also permeates our ideas, thinking, and influences our actions. So if unconscious bias training is grounded in CRT, and if Parkland has no examples of CRT, then why is it being advertised on the Parkland website? Why do the video of a teacher atoning for unbiased training? It's just, let's listen to what the teacher says. I invite all of you to go to the DEI tab on Parkland's website and to watch the video. Halfway through the video, this teacher says, quote, so if unconscious bias training is grounded, she says, quote, this cohort has done an excellent job highlighting the unintentional biases that I have along with everyone else, and how those biases affect how I teach. We learn strategies on how to combat these biases. Ken Shelton has done a wonderful job leading us. Why would anyone admit it here? Is it because you don't believe it? Or is it because you brought something home and now you can't return it and get rid of it? I'm just confused here. Maybe if you think you ignore it, it'll just go away, but times on our side, we're not going to go away. We're going to keep exposing every element of CRT in the district until you can't spin it anymore. At a meeting prior to this, for candidates in Lehigh County, South Whitehall, President Hine committed that if there was CRT in Parkland, he would, quote, fight like hell to get it out. So my challenge to you, Mr. Hine, is to fight like hell and get it out. Additionally, I would ask, there was a woman who came at 7:02. She was unable to speak.
Thank you very much. Your time is up.
But she would like to speak, and she was given a meeting slip prior.
I was denied the right to speak, Mr. Madison. I got here late, and they want to give me a yellow slip. Is that something everybody agrees with, like thinks that's okay?
I think you should be able to speak.
Let her speak.
Let her speak.
All right. I'll give you my name and stuff.
If you fill out a form, we will have.
You didn't give me a, you won't give me a form. So I'll fill it out when I'm done speaking.
We will keep you after the next person who is.
Do you have them?
I do. I do not have, I have a form of person.
Okay, I'll have to Dr. Trout. Thank you.
Patrick Keller.
Pat Kelly at Rising Sun Road, North Whitehall. Parkland's Equity and Inclusion Plan, that's equity, not to be confused with equality, has been used as a vehicle for cultural Marxism and a subset critical race theory to seep into our schools. Lest they be accused of spreading misinformation, the evidence is as follows. In the January 21st issue of the Parkland Press, it was announced that Parkland has started an equity and inclusion plan so as to look into, quote, various types of bias such as white, male, and gender privilege, and systemic racism. Parkland paid $15,000 to a consultant, Ken Shelton from Los Angeles, who refers to him as their, quote, thought partner in designing the E&I plan. Among other things, Shelton is also the host of the podcast, quote, The Liberated Educator, Critical Race Theory Training Day, end quote. And yet we are told there is no critical race theory in Parkland. Law partner Shelton and the Director of Community Relations assembled a list of books, articles, and podcasts and posted them on Parkland's official website for faculty and children to use to, quote, identify their inherent biases. This resource list was a who's who of critical theory contemporaries and highly politically charged with neo-Marxism. And yet we are told there is no critical race theory in Parkland. On the list, self-proclaimed, quote, trained Marxists from BLM state that all policing in the U.S., which would include South Whitehall resource officers, mind you, has, quote, implicit bias, and was, quote, founded as a slave patrol. And how to be an anti-racist, Kennedy says, all capitalists are racist, and one day, quote, will die of unnatural causes. The Morrison article says the people who voted for the last president are Klan-sympathizing murderers. Self-proclaimed, quote, CRT scholar Crenshaw podcast how CRT, the 1619 Project, and snippets from her vulgar stand-up comedy routine. This was all up on the official website for months until parental backlash forced you to quietly take it down. I still have a copy. When offered an alternative to equality-minded resources by black academics, Parkland declined to post them on the website or distribute them as professional development material. As you know, I have all of this in writing. And yet we are told there is no critical race theory in Parkland. Equally disturbing was that a PSU Berks professor was given a $13,000 federal grant to teach CRT to social studies and English teachers and advertise her class to Parkland during the Equity and Inclusion Committee meetings. At that point, if Parkland truly didn't want CRT in the classroom, they would have politely said, this isn't the direction we want to go. Instead, Parkland's director of curriculum extended the invitation to Parkland's teachers as to where they could learn to teach our children through the lens of CRT. At least 3 teachers attended this class thus far. As you know, I also have all of this in writing from the administration. And yet we are told there is no critical race theory in Parkland. We cannot fight bigotry with bigotry. We have to reverse the neo-equity narrative and once again be pro-equality in Parkland. Hate has no home in Parkland, and neither does cultural Marxism masquerading as social justice. Reform the E&I plan now.
Good evening, school board members. I'd like to start off by reminding everybody in the room.
Excuse me, before you start, you came late, so you may not have heard my comment at the beginning that we are under the mandate from the state and the Department of Health and...
We have masks on.
Yeah.
I'd like to start off by reminding everyone in the room that board members, including the assistant superintendent and the principal of my kid's school, begged me to ignore the mask mandate for 4 more days at the end of the last school year. In June, stating things like, please, it's only for 4 more days, like I was a crazy person because I didn't want my kids wearing masks outside. Again, this was in June, which was over 100 days ago, and here we are still talking about masks. Since June, children have gone to camps, stores, fairs, festivals, restaurants with no masks. I need assistance from you guys, legit assistance, okay? I need you to understand how COVID knows to start affecting people on Monday morning when school starts. Weekends are full of fun get-togethers, play dates, family functions, all normal life stuff without COVID in mind. Essentially, people are masking only for school. Help me understand how my kids can't play with their kids from another class because of COVID outside during recess, but then they can hold a family fun night with kids of all ages outside maskless playing together. That doesn't make sense to me. Again, how does the virus know that school starts and ends? And how does that translate to our kids needing masks outside or being separated from their friends? It's a legitimate question. I beg anyone to make sense of this and explain it to me. I fear that I'm staring at a bunch of cowards who are afraid to do what's right by our children, who are driven by power and greed. While I was waiting, I want to bring everybody's attention to that common sense district sign, which I found very ironic and quite hilarious. Thanks for your time.
Moving on tonight to the roundtable. We'll start with Mr. Foos on the phone.
Yes, I'd like to congratulate our new student representative for doing an outstanding job on our first presentation. I know it can be scary talking in front of the board, but I believe you've done a tremendous job. One other comment I'd like to make is listening to all the committee reports, particularly to the Carbon High Intermediate Unit. I thought it was very heartwarming, even though I couldn't see the video, to hear about the bicycles. Thank you so much for all you do for the CLI. Lisa, it really does shine through. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night, everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Cullen?
I congratulate and welcome all our new staff. Appreciate their efforts. Look forward to their contributions. Thank you.
Mr. Miller? Ms. Pagliano?
I also want to welcome all the new staff that we saw at the beginning. That's a lot of new people and that we need to welcome to the Parkland family community. Also to the administrators and Ellie for the amazing job you guys do to get the best of the best. You heard in all the presentations, these new employees are coming with a wealth of information, wealth of backgrounds, all different kinds of experiences, so they have quite a job to go through all that and select candidates. I also want to welcome our new student representative. I look forward to hearing all of your presentations. It's a great way for us to hear the highlights in all the buildings. Obviously, we can't be in all the buildings, so I want to welcome you. I also want to welcome the public again for coming out, listening to us, and being part of the meeting, especially the Boy Scouts. Thank you.
Mrs. Ross?
Thank you very much. I also want to thank Laura. As Mrs. Pagliano mentioned, it's great when we can have, we can't go into buildings like we used to, and we will do again, but thank you for bringing them to us. And it's great to see you guys here tonight too, so we do have some students here, so that's good too. You get a feeling for that as well. I was once excused for jury duty because during the case, the defendant was not going to testify. And the judge asked if there was anybody that was in the pool of jury candidates, whether or not they would have a problem with that, rendering a decision. He said, raise your hand. So out of like 56 people, I was the only one to raise my hand. And he asked me to approach the bench, and I went up and he says, may I ask why? And I said, well, I'm a kind of, I have to hear both sides of the story kind of gal. And he said, I totally understand that. He says, you are supposed to set that aside though. Or proof is on, they have to prove it, and the defendant doesn't need to testify. I said, I get that, Your Honor, I mean no disrespect, but I do need to hear both sides of the story. And I think everyone deserves to hear, both sides of the story. And there was something I came across that, in an article that I just want to be able to get out there, because there has been some information presented, and I would just like to give everyone another side to just contemplate as you're making your decisions. CRT is not educational equity. CRT and educational equity are not the same and shouldn't be used interchangeably. The term critical race theory is being inaccurately used by some to encompass a wide range of topics, including educational equity, social emotional learning, cultural awareness, and restorative justice practices. It also is being used to describe discussions of racism in classroom instruction. Working towards student achievement and excellent outcomes for all students is the essential work of school boards. Approaches to equity will be different in every district, but the goal is the same: excellent outcomes for all students. And that's what educational equity means to us, at least in my opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mrs. Ziegler?
First, thank you to Mrs. Ross for that. Second, thank you and welcome to Ms. Casey. I would look forward to hearing the student rep report, so thank you for being here. Thanks also to Pam Kelly and the rest of the admin team for being here tonight, for all of your hard work, and, as well as your presentations this evening. And as everyone else has said, welcome to all the new staff members.
Thank you. Mr. Bowl?
Yes, thank you. Welcome to the young lady. We got the oldest and the youngest inside. Balance off, so. Besides that, I'll wait to make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Laura?
Thank you all for having me. This was my first presentation, and I kind of sounded a little nervous. I promise I will get better. But thank you all for having me tonight, and it was a really awesome experience to be able to do this for the first time. So thank you. And it was really nice to meet all of you.
Thank you. You did very well tonight, so welcome again. Welcome to our Boy Scouts. Thank you for attending tonight. I remember being in your seat and having to go to public meetings like this for merit badges. Stick with it. The Eagle Scout, I've seen them on teeth as far as age goes, but you'll get it and you'll carry that with you for the rest of your life. So thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you for those who attended, either watching us virtually on the live stream or those here in person. Thank you for your comments. And we do listen to all of your comments and take them seriously. Anything that we have heard, we will be discussing. Thank you for the presentations tonight. Again, welcome to all the teachers. Thank you to the administration for all the hard work that goes on behind the scenes. Captain Madsen?
Thank you, Mr. Hine. Thank you, all community members, for being here this evening. Appreciate that, and all your feedback and comments. Laura, fantastic job. You really did a great job. It was really nice to see some insight into each of the buildings and some of the things that were going on. So very appreciative of that. So thank you. Scouts. All right, you made it through. What do you think? Okay. You can see how a public meeting is run very productively. Very well done by the community and the board. It wasn't that long. So maybe we'll see you again, right? Maybe. So there's going to be a quiz. We're going to have a quiz tomorrow. So we're going to quiz those tomorrow. So we'll make sure we can talk to the parents about that. All right. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And if I could have a motion for adjournment.
No.
Thank you, Mr. Ziegler. All in favor? Aye. And the next school board meeting is October 19th at 7 p.m. for workshop, 8 p.m. for a business meeting, October 26th for the business meeting at 7. Committee meetings October 11th at 5, 6, and 7. Thank you very much again. Have a good night.